The budget that the legislature just passed is not a responsible budget. I don't see anybody, any reasonable person can say that it is. Just look at the facts. They started with a $24.2 billion budget. It ended up with $26 billion in it. They went backwards. This thing is precariously balanced with $2.8 billion of one-time money, $1.5 billion of which comes from the federal government in stimulus money. So all this business about we don't take any stimulus money, $1.5 billion balances this budget of the $2.8. That money's going to be gone next year. And we've got an oil spill in the Gulf. We've got a moratorium on oil and gas drilling. Our state revenues are dropping like a rock. They're down 7% this calendar year. Corporate income and franchise tax is down 56% this year. So what makes us think the future is going to be any better? This was irresponsible. It makes Congress look fiscally responsible. We should be preparing for what's coming down the pike, and we can do it, but there are only one or two things we can do. We can raise taxes or we can control our spending. I say we control our spending, and we can do it. Number one, we got to address the cost of labor. We have 104,000 state government positions. We're number one in the South. Alabama has more people. They do the same thing with the same job with 89,000. We ought to be eliminating 5,000 positions a year. We don't have to fire anybody. We don't have to lay anybody off. All we need to do is not fill a third of the 17,000 vacancies we have every year. So nobody gets hurt. And that'll save the taxpayers in Louisiana between $400 and $800 million. That would be a good first start.
You also mentioned health care costs. What is the status of that right now, and what kind of an impact does that have on the state budget?
Well, we keep sticking our head in the sand. We're spending $7 billion plus a year on a health care delivery system, and it goes up every year. Every year we spend more and more money to treat people, and they keep getting sick faster and faster. And now, as a result of the new Obama health care legislation, we're going to have $7.1 billion additional increases added over the next 10 years. And we've got to start asking some hard questions and demanding answers, real answers, to our costs of health care. We've got to look at the number of visits to our emergency room that aren't emergencies. I've seen numbers that say we had 900,000 visits paid for by taxpayers to our emergency rooms last year for non-emergencies. We spend $900 million a year on Medicaid hospitalizations, but the legislative auditors found that 80% of those hospitalizations are not even being reviewed to see if they're medically necessary. Now, we can't afford this stuff anymore.
What are the options when it comes to the healthcare system, and what is the future of the charity hospital system once the national healthcare plan goes into effect?
Well, we've got to start talking frankly about what the future of the healthcare of the charity hospital system will be. I mean, we cash flow our charity hospitals through the extra $1 billion of money we get from the federal government each year to treat the uninsured. We get they're called DISH dollars. Disproportionate share payments. We get $1 billion a year. We put it right into our charity hospital system to treat the uninsured. Well, under the president's new health care bill, that $1 billion is going to be gone because those uninsureds now have insurance. So we're out $1 billion. How are we going to cash flow the charity hospital system? The legislature didn't even talk about it. It's as if it's not going to happen. Secretary Levine, who's doing the best he can, has already said the Obama bill is going to cost Louisiana $7.1 billion over the next 10 years. We can't ignore that.
This time last year, you were preparing for the Streamlining Commission. How much money in potential savings did the Streamlining Commission find, and what happened with that legislation in this past session of the legislature?
We could have solved every one of our problems if they had adopted the Streamlining Commission's recommendations. Senator Donahue was our chairman. He offered the bills. Of the 26 he offered, 5 got passed. They killed 21 of them, and the 5 that got passed are watered down, okay? And I was very disappointed, and I was very disappointed that the governor did not support Senator Donahue, because those bills would have solved this state's problems. Now, it wouldn't have been painless. It would require us to do some things differently, like control our health care costs and control our cost of labor and not raise taxes, but it would have worked. But instead, the legislature went the other way. And this is an irresponsible budget. I don't care what anybody says.
What do you think needs to be done beginning now for the next session?
2 things. We can't spend more money than we take in, and what money we do spend has to be spent on things we need, not on things somebody just wants. And this $26 billion budget, which started out at 24.2 and went up, is chock full of things it's chock full of wants and not needs. Rational person prioritizes expenditures. And if health care is your top expenditure, you fund it adequately. If education is your top, you fund it adequately. If coastal restoration, roads, and then everything that's at the bottom of the list either gets less money or doesn't get funded at all. Doesn't mean that the things at the bottom of the list aren't important. You know, I was looking at the bill this weekend. I see where they funded things like cattle fences for arenas, and they funded sidewalks for some of our towns. I'm not saying those are bad expenditures, but in my opinion, they're not as important as coastal restoration or better roads.
Are you concerned about the future of higher education?
Well, yes, and we don't have to cut higher education until it bleeds. We don't have to do that. We have to reorganize higher education, but we don't have to cut it till it bleeds if we address the way we spend the state's money.
You mentioned the example of California. Give us that scenario.
Well, you know, some people say the answer is raising taxes. It hadn't worked for California. California has the highest sales tax rate in America. California has the second highest personal income tax rate in America. And California has the biggest budget deficit in America. It didn't work for California, and you know what? It's not going to work for Louisiana. I don't care how high you raise taxes, until you get control of your spending, you can't raise taxes high enough, and raising taxes would be a huge, huge, huge mistake for us right now.
In conclusion, your recommendations and your suggestions on what needs to be done.
Number one, get control of our cost of labor, and we can do it by not filling vacancies. No one gets fired or laid off. If we do it right, we'll save $500 million a year. Number two, get control of the cost of our health care delivery system. If we do it right, we can save another $500 million a year. Number three, we need to eliminate some of the 16,000 consulting contracts that the state of Louisiana has outstanding, spending $7.5 billion. You pick the first 50 names in any phone book in any city in this state and say, go look at that list, and they'll be able to find 10% that just represents wants and not needs. Eliminate 10%, you save another $750 million, and the problem is solved.